All right, guys. We're going to do a little competition between fuelies tonight. Basically, because last time you guys saw these, they were doing pretty good and have done, I don't know, 2 days worth of work to them since. And they're only getting better at like the last three lifts. Because I'm trying to get them to, what did I say I wanted to get them to? 285? 285 CFM. As of right now, I decided to take a ride out to my storage and grab the 041Xs that are pretty much done. And I thought last time I flowed them, I got them right around 275. These are the X's. Okay, you can see the chamber is a little bit different because it's slightly different chamber because one's an angle plug, one's not. But overall, the original shape of this chamber was very similar. You have to remember too, these were modified by Crane, so they're a little different here and there. The ports themselves, the 041X head, came from the factory with a 10cc bigger intake port. So whereas the 492 came with like a 156cc, this would have been 166cc before it was ported. So I took a bunch of measurements and I compared them both after I flowed them because I wanted to know, because they're radically different when it comes to flow, these two heads. So what I did is I took a bunch of critical measurements and I CC'd both intake ports, and I think it's going to be interesting to look at. Some of the critical things that we are going to look at. The width at the bottom of the bowl. Literally, how far down you can measure, right? Both bowls, okay? The 492's got a little bit bigger bowl at the very, very bottom. Then, under the third valve job cut, because I have a problem with the way throats are measured. So I just measured to the bottom of each cut. Now, from this, we could say that is the throat, but they're very close, right? They're only a slightly bit different. Let's get a percentage on that anyway. Okay, if you want to look at throat ratios, the 492 is at 91%, and the 041X is 90.9%, if you want to call that the throat. Now, in reality, I wouldn't call it the throat because the bowls, both bowls, get narrower as further down from that. But I don't really think the whole industry has an absolute place to measure your throat, so that's how I'm going to be doing it right now. Okay, another measurement I took was I put a pilot in each head and then measured to the chamber. That's where they were quite different. I mean, we got almost 50 thousandths difference. The 492 was 1.053 inches, and the 041X is 1.1. You can see the scallop on it. I did the scallops differently. I mean, this was done ages ago. So, and it's relatively tight, close to the valve job. This one is much more recent, and you can see there's more distance to the chamber, relatively close to the valve job. And that's going to be an important point. I think that may be a lot of the flow issues that we have. All right, moving down. Short side radius to the roof. That's the apex of the short side radius up to the roof. They're almost identical, 1.47 inch, 1.46 inch. But they do have different short side radiuses because they are different ports because the 041X is a bigger port. So I did my best to measure the area over the short side radius right at the apex and how wide it was. And then you calculate, you take out the 0.2 for a half-inch radius, and you take that area and you multiply it by 146 CFM per square inch. The 492s are good for 307.7 CFM, and the 041Xs are 296.9 CFM. Okay, pinches were done slightly different. One's a little bit taller, one's a little bit wider. They're pretty close. 492s calculate up to 283, which is about where I want to get them. And the 041Xs are 276. And I remember vividly that I got that head to 275. And when I reflowed it, again, probably a different intake valve, it did not reach that. Okay, port size. 492. It measures 182.5 cc port, which is quite a lot of metal taken out of a 156 cc port. The 041X is 184.5. Okay, it's still a lot of metal taken out of them. Now, in doing some research on the 492s, about the only thing I could find were 292s done by Larry Moe, and he's getting a lot of flow out of these, but he's also cutting a much bigger port. At one point, I think he cut these to a 209 cc port. So obviously, that's where some of the flow isn't here yet. Oh, I forgot to measure the other one here. Hold on. Okay, the short side radius height is measured with a caliper that you got to cut the pointy ends off to get around there. They're pretty close. You got 780 and you got 770 in height. Alrighty. So I started out the sheet as an 041X, and that's what these are. This is the intake port and the swirl. And then I did the 492 intake port and swirl. Now, they're both cut for 2055. They're both cut for 45-degree seats, I believe. I hope so. Otherwise, that really screws up everything. I probably need to go back and review the videos I made on which head so I get everything right. And then I did the air speeds. I can see I forgot air speeds right there. The airspeeds on the left are 041X, and the airspeeds on the right are 492s. So let's take a look and see if we can figure out what's going on here, because last time you've seen the 492, these were very good. I mean, we had 200.5 at 300. We had like 40 something over here. It was quite a bit better. These are all down. The last three or four cuts are all down here, and it only came up a little bit on this side. Okay. Now, if we use this on a nostalgia dragster, it'll have a good size cam. So 263.8, 269, 273. That's decent, but I think we should be doing better than that. The swirl on the 496, you know what? Let's go back to the flows over here. Take a look at how much higher all of these flows. These minuses and pluses are to each other. So the 492 is down all the way across the board. Now, I was working on it to get the higher lift flows, but you know what? I remember trying to get these to 275. And look at how much better it is. All of these low flows to 400. Quite a bit better, right? All of them. The 300 number is quite good, 212.4. And low lift is screaming. When do you see 49.7? Almost never. So that's why I decided to go through and figure it all out. Now at 500 lift, something really interesting happened that I hardly ever see. It would pulse between 253 and 270 CFM, and the manometer would bounce like crazy. So you got big gulps of air going around the short side, not making it around the short side. Okay, and after you got over that rough spot, it was decent. 260 and change. But I remember this was 275. So, like I said, that may have been a valve without a back cut, come to think of it. But let's take a look. I mean, as it sits now, if you take a look at these flows and you take a look at these flows, which one do you think would make more power? We'll leave that for a question in the comments, because I know which one I would pick. No question about it. Let's take a look at our swirls. Let me put pluses and minuses on the swirls. Okay, put my pluses and minuses in, and it's actually interesting how it goes, right? Minus, plus, minus, plus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. Now, the curve that I would prefer on this is the 041X. No, I'm sorry. That's not correct. Sorry, guys. See all these minuses in here, lower? I'd rather have it lower here and then pop up. I was thinking about this, almost 4,000 here. That's a little unnecessary. We don't need that much. But I think I said that on the last one. So I actually like the swirl curve better for the 492s, okay, than the 041Xs. But as far as the flow, right, being really good up to 400 lift versus a couple CFM up top, I know which one I would pick every single day, twice on Sunday. We'll leave that in the comments. The little bit of info I would tell you is, how many times do you see 158 and 143 versus 260 and 263? Okay? Right? The lower lifts you see twice. Very important, guys. Very important to make the port efficient in the meat of the curve. Yeah, the higher numbers are awesome for bragging rights, but I know which one's going to make more power just looking at them, I'll tell you right now. Okay. Take a look at our air speeds. Through the pinch, the 492 is actually a little bit faster through the pinch. Now, these are taken at 600 lift. So they're flowing almost the same. Okay. And the pinch size was, I put that away already. They were really close, right? Yeah, one was good for 283 CFM and the other one is 276 CFM. So they're pretty close. In actuality, this one should be faster than this one, but it didn't measure that way because it's a little bit smaller pinch and it's flowing almost identical. So that's kind of interesting. Center of the cylinder we can't compare because I forgot to write down what they were for the 492s. If I go back a flow sheet, 221, 177. Let's use that. All right. I have a feeling I went over a bunch of stuff when it was paused. But I'm just going to restate it quick. If you take a look at the pinch, this pinch is a little bit smaller and they're flowing almost the same. You would think it would be quite a bit faster. It didn't measure that way though. Now, I took these numbers off the last sheet. So we go 199 to 221. Big difference, right? A lot more roof speed on the 492. And a lot more roof speed on the 492 on both of them. So that's telling us a little bit what's going on. Now let's take a look at short side radius. Relatively close, very close, pretty close. The short side radiuses look like they're done very similar. Okay? But yet, one of them flows much better at lower lifts, and one is only marginally better at the higher lifts. So, I'm interested in knowing your opinion of what to change next on the 492s. I know what I'm thinking about. Give me some feedback on that, guys. Let's just give you one final view. All right, 492s. And the 041X. I don't have as bright a light on the 041X. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.